Naija, which way now?
Hello Nigerians. Thank you for joining us in another edition of MyBetterNaija, where we look at issues across the nation and then try to find solutions to them. In Nigeria today, there is a silent crisis unfolding behind the scenes in our university walls. Millions of bright young minds face a devastating choice. They are abandoning their dreams of education or struggle through extreme hardship, while privileged classmates sail by. For those without wealthy families, the college experience is just isn't difficult. It is sometimes impossible. Let's look at NELFUND, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. This is a government lifeline promising zero interest loans to help students cover tuition and living expenses at any Nigerian institution. The beacon of hope for a generation desperate to learn and transform their future. But this promise has a dark shadow. Whispers have grown to shouts as allegations surface of corruption at the highest levels. Are NELFUND officials and university administrators diverting millions of naira meant for students' education into their own pockets? Who is getting rich of the dreams of Nigerian youth? Today, we dive deep into this explosive story of ambition, inequality, and betrayal that's shaking the foundation of Nigeria's education system. The questions are urgent. Who will fight for these students? And can Nigeria's next generation of leaders ever truly emerge if the system itself is rigged against them? In the studio to discuss this topic with us today is Dr. Greg Alake. Dr. Alake is an advocate of critical legal thinking, a procurement and legal specialist with over 35 years of experience in health services, local authority, and academia. He was formerly head of procurement at the University College of London and contracts manager at Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. Welcome to MyBetterNaija, and let's get started, Dr. Alake.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to commend you for all the efforts you've been making on how to rescue Nigeria and how to make Nigeria better. So, thank you indeed.
Thank you. Right. So, let's look at some of the statistics. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has initiated a probe into alleged discrepancies in the disbursement of funds. This is what we know so far. Out of the 100 billion naira earmarked for the program, only 28.8 billion, that is less than 30 billion, has been disbursed to students. And of the 203.8 billion naira so far received, only 44 billion was disbursed by NELFUND. An estimated 54 billion has been pocketed by the universities and polytechnics. A National Orientation Agency investigation uncovered claims that some tertiary institutions, in collaboration with banks, were withholding student loan disbursements. These are the facts that have been reported in the media. And we know that the National Assembly has picked this up as well. ICPC has picked it up. So they are just not allegations. There are certain truths behind them. So the first question, Dr. Alake, is this. Is the student loan fund good for students or not? Is it any good? Do we need it?
Of course. It is. This is a good development. Don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, most of our policies in Nigeria are subconsciously designed to fail because most are not sustainable. due to lack of transparency and accountability. Hence, we find ourselves asking this type of questions. So, yes, it is a good development if we look back to where we were maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So we're in the right direction. It's just how to fine tune what we have.
Right. So we need it. It is good.
Of course.
We just need to do it right. If corruption is proven in this case, is that not what we should expect in Nigeria? Don't we know that our entire society runs on corruption? Why is this one a big deal? Why should we even care or be talking about this?
Very good question. Thank you. Well, there's been a lot of debate on the numbers and the fund distribution. I think for so many reasons, it's because there are a lack of proper accountability and transparency. Again, those are critical in any government. Obviously, there will be instances where people do different things. I mean, I've done a lot of procurement work, so I know there are loopholes no matter where you are in the world. As Nigerians, corruption seems to be part of our DNA. So that is nothing new. As Nigerians, what we just needed to do is to find a way of making our systems better. I mean, even the debate itself is not even clear, because when you look at the Punch newspaper on the 14th of this month, you find where Dr. Tunji Alausa declared that there's been no fraud uncovered. I have a link here that I think I can share with you at some point to this new Punch newspaper publication. In statements, I find funny, and I quote, bear with me, I think I've got it on my paper, on my notebook here. It says, let me start by saying that there is no fraud in NELFUND. ICPC reported that the information was not correct. There is no fraud in NELFUND. What we have are issues that have to do with the timeline. Obviously, we're not, they've done the investigation, right or wrong, we're not there. And this is why I kept saying we need transparency and accountability in our society. Yes, you've done an investigation behind closed doors, whatever, I'm not sure, so I can't be 100% certain about that. But they've said ICPC, that's supposed to be one of the highest institution of fighting corruption. Okay, I've done this, and they come up saying there's no corruption. But when you look at the figures, it gives different information to whoever. Nigerians are no longer ignorant anymore. The social media has helped people to be educated about what's happening, finding out. And also, when you go out on the street, ask people. The information doesn't balance each other. So where they got that from, I do not know. I think for us as a nation, if we want to move forward, we need to look at our systems, and transparency, accountability in every aspect of life is very important. I think Obasanjo tried it during his regime, I think with Ngozi. Unfortunately, he died a death. We went back to our usual way. It's something that if we want a better Nigeria, we need to revive those things in our public services. Thank you.
Transparency and accountability. Thank you very much. And on this particular subject, the last question is this. We know we have a problem. We know the program is good. we want to continue and sustain the program. But what do we do? What are the solutions? What's the way forward? How do we save NELFUND? How do we get money to the students who need this program? What do we do?
Absolutely. Good. I believe the bottom line is to make the fund distribution independent and back it with sustainable process. For example, in the UK, student loans are managed by commercial banks, for example, who has information on the students, on their employment when they leave the institution. So we done a lot of work, but we're not actually making it sustainable. We've got the NEN. The NEN is supposed to do all those works. Give it to the banks. Let them manage it. If you have data, okay, in the UK, it's a bit much more than just the NEN, because you got stuff like the credit ability for the banks to loan you money, in any case, as an individual or as a student. So it's working that way. Let's look at how that system works. Even the commercial banks in the UK, their system of giving credit to individual on their credit card, we're miles behind. We cannot say because we are a young nation, or when did we start, when did our development start, so we want to be backward. We don't want to be backward forever. Yes, people will tell you Rome was not built in a day. Yes, it's not built in a day, but it starts with one step. Let's make that step now. And look at the stuff where other people have done it better. So student loan, instead of being managed by some quangos or whatever, give it to independent banks, give them a license to distribute that. Yes, people would say to you, what's in there for the banks? Obviously, so you say these are interest-free loans, obviously. So how's the bank going to make their money? Give them money on for administrating the service, because that money is better say you're making some savings that people will have just embezzled anyway. So if you say you're giving the banks, let's say, for example, 200 million, 5% of that for doing the administration of distributing those funds, that should work. That's the way I see it anyway. It's working in other countries. Why can't it work with us? So giving it to quangos, as we know, is our problem. That's the way I see it.
That's quite similar to the system in the United States, where the Department of Education has this pot of money, and they give them to banks who administer the money, and they are able to guarantee very low rates, and they're able to work with the banks. We know that anything, especially in a country like Nigeria, where there is no transparency and accountability, as you rightly mentioned earlier, where you give a large amount of money to civil servants to manage individuals, that's like creating a massive opportunity for corruption.
Absolutely,
and to remove that, let's just give it to those whose job is just to do exactly that, to manage loans. That's what banks do.
Exactly.
So that's how a better Nigeria looks like when it comes to
absolutely.
Loan.
I'm glad we're talking from the same hymn sheet here.
Yeah. All right. Great. So we move on to the next topic, which is also around the crisis in the education sector in Nigeria. Right now, as we speak, students are going back into examination rooms in Lagos and much of southeastern Nigeria because there was an issue with the examination they previously took. This has become like a scandal, a national crisis for JAMB. JAMB is the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, It is one of the most highly regarded public institutions in Nigeria, and this is quite surprising. And people are calling for heads to roll because over 379,000 students or prospective university students have to retake the exam. There was a software bug. They made some mistakes in deploying software that disproportionately affected 157 centers in Lagos and the Southeast. In fact, one student had committed suicide over this issue because the student felt like this wasn't the grade I deserved and I can't just continue with life. Now, the JAMB, we are told, has conducted investigations. It has admitted errors. It is trying to rectify those errors. It's re-administering the examinations. But some people are saying we should just move on. This problem has been solved. We know that mistakes can be made. And the question is this: is it acceptable that Nigerians should just move on and no one needs to be made to pay or be accountable for this error?
Thank you. You see, this is not, I wouldn't say it's a difficult question. You see, there are different levels of mistakes. But when you make mistake that affects people's lives, for example, like you rightly said, somebody died, a student died. When you have mistake that affects service users financially, emotionally, and physically, those kind of mistakes cannot be taken lightly, and there must be someone that needs to be accountable. When you look at countries like China or Japan, mistakes like these leads to the head of that organization actually having to commit suicide, or they call it arikari. In our Western world, so to speak, you got ministers will resign on that basis that it's not directly the minister's fault, but the fact that they're the head of that organization and they're accountable for that organization, they step down. Why do they do that? Sometimes, I mean, in Nigeria, we just take it for granted. It's one of those things, like the question rightly said. But what kind of legacy is the legacy behind it, and the precedent that we're laying down? That's what matters. If we've been doing it the way other country does it, we wouldn't be where we are today. Someone made a mistake. Ordinary mistakes, yes, we can accept that. That's why I said there are different levels of mistakes. But when that mistakes affects finance of organization, of individual, of government, someone needs to take responsibility for that. You need to go. You need to pay for it. But because we push it under the carpet, the next person feels like, well, I can do the same thing. Someone else does it. No one takes any notice of it anyway. So that is why we keep having the same problem all the time. But if it doesn't matter how little it is, the mistake is, it's the impact that mistake makes that would determine the kind of punishment, so to speak, that should be meted out to the head of the department or to those who committed the crime, so to speak. Otherwise, our corruption will keep thriving. Inefficiency will keep thriving. Government cannot move forward because there are people that's not making their policies to work, that's not making it sustainable. That's the way I see it.
So with that being the situation in Nigeria today, What steps should be taken further apart from the investigation of the root cause and the retake of the examination that was organized by JAMB to make university admissions simpler and far more efficient than what we see today?
Thank you. That's a good question. I mean, before we started, we briefly talk around this. You see, personally, I do not believe there is one best way of admission into higher education. We just need to find out what suits our environment. However, the problem with our system is that we have a situation where the private institutions are far higher. I mean, the number of private institutions are far higher than the public institution. So when you look at private institutions, their bottom line is to make sure that there's more bums on the seat, there's more students. So they have an ability to reduce, or they don't mind reducing the criteria that JAMB wants for their, or that JAMB set in general as a generic system of admitting students into universities. So all they're after is their profit. So they will go out there, reduce those entry criteria. What they need to do, well, the solution, I believe, for us in Nigeria will be something like we have in UK, or they have in America. For example, I'm using UK because that's where I reside. They have something called UCAS. Yep. So UCAS manages the admission process, just like our JAMB. And that's why I was saying earlier that it's just similar to fragmentation of law, where different countries will take what suits them. So we've got JAMB, which is similar to UCAS, but how does that process work? That is where we are lacking. In this instance, where we have a lot more private universities than the public, we cannot just say, oh, you have your own system. If you want to go to private, let them have their own system. And if you come into public, yes, it's the JAMB. No, you can have a system where it says, we have a body similar to UCAS, or that's what JAMB should be doing, or this exam. I mean, for example, in the UK, you do your GCSE, or it's already set within the UCAS criteria that, for example, you got to have 5 credits or 3 distinction, for example. So if you haven't got that, they put that on the system, it's verified. If you haven't got that, you can't go there, then you can go to your second choice. So what's the need of having another JAMB or institution, as we do, that you now go and sit another exam and say, unless you get to level 400 points, then you cannot get admitted into your choice of institution? No, let's look at a different way. We have a JAMB, or whatever name we want to call it. They administer that. You set, once you finish your O levels, send your results to them. They will manage that. Don't start sending those kids to go and do another as kind of an exam again.
Actually, it's worse than that, because not only do they take JAMB exams, the universities, a lot of universities, as far as I understand, now organize their own additional exam. So, yeah.
It's too much. You know, let's have a generic or a standardized system. Let's manage the process, and we would be able to manage it properly. But it's fragmented the way I say it. Yes, absolutely right what you just said. I've seen it happen. Once they've done their JAMB, UTME, they've done that, then universities also doing another set of exams again. nah, it's too much. At the end of the day, we don't even achieve what they're supposed to achieve there, because it's who you know, as we know how it works in Nigeria. So where does that leave us? I have a friend of mine, the daughter wanted to go to University of Ilorin. She did well. She met the cutoff mark and all that. Then they said, no, because you are not from that particular area. And the only reason she said she wanted to go to University of Ilorin was because their level of strike is lower than other institutions. But at the end of the day, she missed that admission. She met all the criteria, the cutoff point. Even the second choice was too late. By the time University of Ilorin finally came out with their admission numbers, she wasn't able to get into that. And by the time she said, "Oh, let me go to my second choice," it was too late. They've cut off. So the system needs to be reorganized, looked into. We have a lot of issues that we need to look at, unfortunately.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alake. You are telling us that your Better Nigeria, as regards the JAMB scandal, is such where things are simplified. There is value
absolutely
in simplicity.
We can do it.
Too
Absolutely.
many exams, too many payments, too much logistics just to get admission into university, when people have the basic credentials that they can present that kind of shows how they are academically. So yeah, I think we can use a lot of simplicity in so many ways in Nigeria, and someone needs to be accountable for this crisis as well. Just to show and lead by example, that when you make very terrible mistakes, the public cannot just let it go. It should not. We should not be accepting mediocrity in our society. Excellence should be something that we value and something that we encourage and we like to see in every public institution in Nigeria. That is how we can grow. That is how we can improve things. So thank you very much, Dr. Alake. And again, Dr. Alake is an advocate of critical legal thinking, a procurement and legal specialist with over 35 years of experience in health services, local authority, and academia. He was formerly head of procurement at University College of London and contracts manager at Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. Thank you for telling us what your Better Nigeria looks like today, and we hope to see you again on this podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been nice being with you. Thank you very much.
Naija, which way now?